Hi, I'm Dave Ranyard. I run Sony's London studio. We've been working on Project Morpheus for a couple of years. It's great to be here at SouthWest VR today. It's a really good conference, nice meetup.
Wonderful. It's an interesting talk you just did, and you reference the experience you had with Illusion and learning how that impacting if you're facing something whose intensity is such as hitting a car, then it becomes uncomfortable for the viewer. Could you just sort of elaborate on that and explain for people who haven't seen that particular video what that lesson was?
Yeah, so we created an experience where you're basically lying down street luge like a giant skateboard, and in the real world you're lying on a beanbag, and you actually steer. You just sort of lie back like this, steer by moving left and right. There's no acceleration or brake, and we were experimenting with lots of different prototypes for this experience. We thought it's going to be a great experience. It's pure Morpheus control. You're low to the ground, so you get a good sensation of speed. But what we found, one of the things we found was if we did a high impact where you stopped, it's a bit jarring. Now, I mean, my takeaway from that is if I was actually on a road, on a big skateboard, and I hit a car, it'd be pretty jarring. So to my mind, it's part of the nature of one-to-one relationship of VR. You know, whereas I mean, I think I alluded in the talk to a traditional video game. It's like looking at a window on the world. So you can kind of, you know, if you're driving a car, you can kind of spin off and do all crazy things. Doing things like that in VR, because it's so close to what it would be like really, is a bit uncomfortable because you're doing something that's a bit uncomfortable. So the way we want obviously wanting to gamify this experience. So the way we handled it was to allow an intersection, but just give a speed penalty to the player, and that way we could get a smooth, seamless experience. You got the sensation of adrenaline and the sensation of jeopardy by going in between cars and so on. You could even go under trucks, which is pretty cool, but without then enforcing the reality of a jarring experience.
Okay, interesting. That's quite an example of something that's quite intense, but Sony, I guess, are a holistic entertainment company, and obviously one of those is gaming, with the PlayStation products and everything. But we're starting to see now a lot of VR being used for more passive experiences, and even relaxation. So as a company or from your London studios, have you found that passive experiences might be just as much as a viable option as more gamified experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not trying to gamify every experience to the nth degree. We've done like prototypes of things like fireworks. You know, I mean, it's quite cool just flying up around fireworks, or just looking up at them, things like that, and working on music visualizers, all these different things. And there's many different demos that are pretty cool out there in the world as well. So it's definitely something that we see both sides of the spectrum. But you know, I guess what I was talking about today was we want to get into where there's a narrative to it. I mean, even doing street luge, there's a little bit of a narrative. You know, you're playing on the street. You know, there's a sense of danger. It feels slightly unlawful, I guess, what you're doing. So there's a very, very light narrative with that, with the shark demo that we saw my mum doing. That you take the role of a diver and you go through a very short narrative experience. And we're wanting to like amplify that. That's our focus. But absolutely, we see passive experiences as being just as viable and very accessible. I mean, you know, then you do get this crossover. You know, the more complex your core mechanic, you know, you're not going to appeal to every single person in the world. You're going to appeal to more gamers. The less complex your mechanic, so a passive experience of just enjoying something, anybody can get involved in that. And like I say, we had my mum doing the shark demo. Because, you know, she could just passively enjoy it, although it was actually not very passive because she got eaten by a shark.
I'm going to have a go on you with that.
Oh, really?
I've never tried the Morpheus.
Okay.
I'm to enjoy this. Okay, now that's interesting. And I'm kind of repeating what you just said. If you give me, obviously people watching this wouldn't have seen your presentation. I was really quite creeped out at the prospect of what you were saying about real characters following you, looking at you. A lot of your presentation had black and white imagery, which I thought was really interesting. And last night I was actually reading something that the Victorians used to do quite macabrely. They'd actually take photographs of dead people.
Yeah,
did you read it?
It's been flying around the internet, hasn't it? Yeah.
So then I thought, well, can you have something so realistic where you're using real people to follow you? And that's obviously a very R&D level rather than CG characters. Are you kind of with your heritage of computer graphics, but also combining kind of real footage of 3D scanned framed devices within CG worlds that can really create that ultimate sense of presence that's verging on the creepy. It can be anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just looking at what it would be like to interact with the character, whether that character is a real person or a non-player person. In all honesty, we haven't got to that stage of, and wouldn't it be great if we've got 1,000 people all networked, we're not at that bit level. You can sort of quickly kind of sit in the pub and have a conversation, wouldn't it be great to do this, this and this? But we're just, right now, we're at basics. So, I mean, I think the analogy I use is, how does it feel if a character passes something to you? Like a photograph, what does that feel? Now, it's sort of trivial in the real world, but actually in VR, that's a big step. If you do that in a traditional video game, looking at the TV, character passes another character, something, it's like, yeah, okay. But if you actually take that in VR, that's really powerful. So we're just taking these basic steps at the moment.
That's really interesting. Just the last couple of questions there. So, and you might not have any thoughts or sort of didn't know too much about it, but I heard you said something about you heard of a company using sense in your ear of balance to generate.
Oh no, sorry. So somebody we all had a curry last night, and somebody was saying about, imagine if there was a technology where you could actually affect the inner ears to give a sense of balance that would be in line with what you're doing in VR. So that was real pie in the sky, or rather chicken tikka in the sky, I think probably. Jalfrezi, I actually had a jalfrezi, so it was very much speculative.
Jalfrezi based.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Project Pretend, or the Pretender Project?
No, enlighten me.
Where people are controlling other people with their bodies. It's quite a Pretender Project. And they will want to put that in VR. That's a whole crazy world. And again, you may not be able to. Sony at the moment, are you very much like a separate division now, where you're looking at the best the best VR methods and solutions and learning how to do it? It's not at the moment integrated into your actual gaming studio as yet. Is that right?
It is part of the gaming studio. I mean, basically, I run a gaming studio. And we've got a bunch of people working on Morpheus VR, and really our task, if you like, is to find the experiences that have got great value. So we've done lots of different prototypes, and then when we find something we think this is really interesting, we'll sort of get the art team involved, polish it up, and make it presentable just to support Sony, as we talk about Morpheus.
But I was sort of wondering if you're creating a AAA game. Do you see a future where the VR becomes a bolt-on to that AAA game, or do you see VR gaming as dedicated products, or do we just not know as yet? In all honesty, I'm not sure we know. I mean, I think there are certainly some experiences where actually, it could be enhanced with VR, or do you know what I mean? And then there are others where you don't want to dilute the VR experience to make it more accessible. So it's too early to say, really, and I think it probably depends. It's a case-by-case basis. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.